It's a beautiful thing. Can I see those old-time veterans, please? Guys who hang around the VFW, guess what? They can relate to the younger generation. Their history has not been erased. It was for a while, but it's being reinstalled. You're looking at soldiers at Fort Bragg, everybody. Fort Bragg. May I see the buildings of Fort Bragg? It's one of the biggest bases in the Army. Goes on for thousands upon thousands of acres. 82nd Airborne, I believe, is there. And guess what? For a little while, it was named Fort Liberty. Why? The wokeness, the craziness. Everybody said that, General Bragg was a Confederate and shouldn't be named for that because it's racist. Well, eradicating our history is stupid. And thank you to Secretary Hegseth. The guy is delivering. Not bad, Pete. He disappeared. Good job. He's making these things happen, along, of course, with his boss, the President of the United States. And take a look at this. His approval rating is hovering around 53%. Given our climate, given where presidents have been over the past several decades, this is like landslide popularity. And 70% of the American people, 70, believe that he is keeping his campaign promises because he absolutely is. This is an amazing time in America.
Yeah, it is.
Shocking, bro. Absolutely shocking.
He didn't mention this, but you said that to me saying, "Oh, look, he loves Hegseth now." But
no, I know. That's why I sent you the clip, because he's been doing this for a couple of nights now about Pete. He's just gonna let it go. He doesn't care.
Well, that's smart. I mean, what else is he gonna do? But to Hegseth's credit, the numbers have come in December. It was like the best recruitment numbers in the previous 8 years.
Wow.
In January, it's the best recruitment numbers in 15 years.
Wow.
They're flooding in. And
what are you saying? You're going back, Hunley? You're going back in?
Hell to the no. But anyway, I'm too old, actually. It doesn't even matter.
All right.
But the rule is, if anybody's curious, if somebody has served in the military before, because a lot of people are going back in, you have to be 35 years or younger, or with the exception for however many years you served. So if you serve 4 years, you could be 39.
Oh, that's a weird math equation. Now, what about Mark Milley? Are they going to bring him back to active duty to do what they're going to do to him?
I don't know that they have to.
Right. Okay. Because I keep hearing this.
Generals, I think, are kind of always like borderline inactive reserve, because
they could call you back at any time, right?
I think generals, not generals. Everybody. Like when I was
generals. Okay, so while Hunley's frozen,
that was weird. Anyway, when I was I served a term. I got out, left everything, but I was technically still on inactive reserves for a little period of time. And depending on who you are, what your rank is, and things like that, you may have other obligations. And I think 4-star generals probably have like a lifetime.
But they're not letting go of this Milley thing. So from what I understand, this is just the beginning. They've turned it over to some sort of Pentagon Inspector General, whatever their equivalent of that is, and they're going to begin whatever they're going to begin. I don't know what the process is for JAG, or does he have to lawyer up Milley? I mean, what happens there?
Well, if they go after his rank, and pay, they're very limited in what they can do, because what Biden did. Right. But that's still devastating. If he suddenly gets decreased in rank to a captain, and he's getting a retirement wage captain
that hurts.
Versus a 4-star. I mean, that's brutal.
That hurts.
Or whatever.
I just want to say right now, if there are commercials 6 days from now, Hunley and I are long gone. The show lives in some sort of stratosphere. You're watching it now. The show's over. You couldn't get here live because you have a day job, or doing something. You can go to locals. These are your alternatives. Live, which we're doing now,
Which there
locals,
still are commercials apparently live, just not as many.
live, locals, Rumble, YouTube Premium, right, Eric? So
Yes.
there
And
are
Rumble's premium. If you
Rumble's
want zero
Premium if you
commercials
want
there.
nothing, just to stop you from belly aching. And now back to the show. Sorry, go on.
Okay, well, and I did want to point out something about YouTube Premium. I don't love the idea of giving YouTube money, obviously, but I will say it will eliminate ads not only in our program, but all programs you watch. And when we're demonetized and we go yellow, that's called limited monetization. And if you're paying for YouTube Premium, we still do get support from YouTube Premium people. So it does help creators even when they're demonetized if you're using YouTube Premium. Something to consider if it's really driving you completely crazy.
You could go to unstructured.locals.com
and there's
and
no
still
ads.
there's no ads. I just wanted to point because there are people who just can't tolerate it for mental reasons, autistic reasons, spectrum reasons, personal reasons, hygiene reasons, whatever your reasons. You can go to unstructured.locals.com, and there you could buy tickets still at this discount, or
if you're a paying supporter,
right,
there is a discount for a little event that we have coming up.
Tell us more
Las
about it,
Vegas.
Sir Hunley. Wait a minute, look at that bald-headed dude. This
Check
might be
that
something,
out.
Hunley. Look at that.
Wanted to make sure I had this here. You can even hold your phone up and scan that
right
QR
now.
code.
They could do that.
They
right
absolutely
now?
can. You can do it right now.
I can't figure out how they invented this thing. It must have been the Pentagon that invented this thing, right?
Yeah, probably. But you know what? They're monitoring us anyway. But the cool thing about it is it just came out today that the #1 device that people are watching content on YouTube is the television.
No, that's what I do. Yeah, I thought so. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
But I knew that it was gaining and had a large audience, but I did not think it was going to surpass the phone.
Right.
It is #1 now. That's
so this
fast.
thing, we're going to give an award to Barnes, who well deserves it. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Robert Barnes. The amount of support that this guy, for reasons that are inexplicable to me, why he feels like he has to support us, we wouldn't exist as a show. So Barnes will be receiving, what is it called? The Friend of America's Untold Stories Award. The second annual award. The first one went to some obscure guy who lives in Boca Raton. That was the first one, who loves to go fishing. Barnes is in Vegas, so we're bringing the game to Vegas to make it easier for Robert to attend. It is his birthday, so it's a birthday bash. I got to get a cake. Don't say anything. We'll get the cake. I know people are listening to the show thinking, hey, he's getting a cake. I'm going to tell Robert he's getting a cake. But there'll be dinner. There's a cash bar. It's going to be crazy. It's a mob joint. We're not going to tell you the name until you get the tickets, but
it's on the ticket site.
It's on the ticket. We've been there a couple of times the past 2 years. But anyway, it's going to be a great event. It's going to be on Saturday, so you can come in on Friday. There's plenty of crap to do in Vegas. The Mob Museum is fun, and then all the other crazy shows that you might want to see.
I mean, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot to do. And there's a lot of direct flights, as Eric pointed out.
Yes, I believe there are direct flights to Las Vegas from almost any part of the country. Wherever there's an airport, they pretty much have a direct flight there. It's one of those fortunate cities. I think Dallas is another one. Orlando. There are certain ones that obviously, like
Atlanta, I think,
is a hub. Well, the hubs definitely.
Yeah.
But that makes Vegas a pretty good destination. You could probably get a direct flight from wherever you are.
Yeah, I think Viva said he's coming. So we'll do a panel. We'll meet and greet. We'll answer your questions. I'm driving, so if you're bringing books, now's the time to give me a book, because I'm not going on a plane and I could drive home with it. But that being said, I just want to point out these new books that I just got, which I pointed out last week. But this is one that was really obscure. It's written by Gerald Ford. And in here is a chapter on the woman we're going to do a show on in 2 weeks, which is Marguerite Oswald. We're going to go into Oswald's mother in 2 weeks on a Tuesday, whatever that last Tuesday of the month is. We'll get into some.
The 25th.
The 25th. Then there's this one. She's kind of a deep state operative, this writer. She's kind of like Priscilla McMillan. But this is another rare book through the JFK Book Fund. So thank you for the donations. These are really out of print weird, odd little books. This one, written by Stephen Beschloss, who was another deep state historian, the gunman and his mother, is another one I'm using as a source for this episode. And then finally, I got Oswald's Tale by Norman Mailer, which is another book that's sketchy as F, but has a lot of information in there. We had covered it a little bit in a previous episode because they go and hook up with Ernst Titovitz 7 times. Remember?
By the way, Ernst Titovitz was just on Atwood.
Okay, I could see that.
No, I was just surprised.
He met with them. He met with them. That's funny you said that. He met with them 7 times, Titovitz, and never granted them an interview. He was jerking them around, and he kept saying, "I'm coming out with my own book," and Mailer was like losing his shit. And he just said, "I'm Norman Mailer." He goes, "Yes, I know all about you, Mr. Mailer. That's of course, yes." And then he goes, "Oh, I've got to go now." And Titovitz, of course, a medical doctor, researcher. It's kind of, he's
kind of a cool dude.
A very cool dude. I've known him for years. He sent me an autographed copy of his book in the 90s when it came out. And anyway, so in there, besides Titovitz, who is not in there, is a lot of stuff about Oswald and Russia, but also there's a chapter by Mailer on Oswald and his mother. And we'll get into that in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to thank people for that kind of book fund.
Well, since we're on the news and you just brought up some JFK, we got JFK stories here. You've got FBI uncovering, 2,400 new documents, which doesn't, it's not necessarily that many documents. It sounds like a ton. I don't know. What do you think?
Right. No, that's why I just did this little segment about the books, because of this story that Eric's pulled up here. The 2,400 documents, the reason it's 2,400 documents that's important, it's not the number, it's the fact that nobody knew they were there. Mm-hmm. None of these documents were documented as documents, if that makes any sense. They were not on the documented radar of documents because they weren't at the National Archives. They weren't at CIA. They weren't at ONI. ONI destroyed, all their documents the night before they had to testify at the House Assassinations Committee hearings in 1977. These 2,400 seem to have come out of thin air. I don't know where they were, but this is part of Trump's order of the Justice Department to come up with a plan in 45 days, quote unquote, minus the past 2 weeks, I guess, since he made the order, Eric. Mm-hmm. So this is coming out of the Department of Justice. In that Department of Justice are going to be, hopefully, files on MLK through the FBI when Kash Patel gets there, and also RFK Sr., which I'm waiting to see. So this was a surprise. Nobody expected JFK files to come out of the Justice Department. Everyone was expecting RFK and MLK files as per the order from Trump. So this is some bonus round of files that nobody's looked at yet. And I presume that when Kash Patel comes in, this will be his purview to officially release these, is in my humble opinion. Just to clear up again this insanity that people keep thinking the files are coming out tomorrow. It was a plan to release the files, is what the executive order was about. So,
what could be sweet is it could be a situation like MK Ultra, where files are found somewhere else that years or documenting something that he didn't realize. It's like, oh shit, there's a record of it over there.
Yeah, no, that's all we've been talking about for 2 days is the MK Ultra example of these files, because they were ordered destroyed by Dulles and others, and yet they turned up in other places because it's not, people don't understand, there's not like a central vault where files are kept, Eric, as you're well aware. They're scattered around the Northeast, mostly, in various things. Some of them are in storage, some of them are in vaults, some of them are in files. That's what happened with MK Ultra. They thought they had destroyed all the files and they hadn't. And this may be a similar situation.
And by the way, just because they're spread around everywhere doesn't mean that it's anything nefarious. It's
no,
just
of course not.
It works. It's different people do different things. They track it and they record. On that note, this was trending today. Apparently, Anna Paulina Luna is running a committee from the House on JFK.
Oh, interesting.
Epstein 9/11.
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were 2 shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the SCIF, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
Look, I don't trust her either, to be honest.
No, and I don't
you.
like that she wants to get in the SCIF first.
No.
Why don't you just release it to the public and we all look at it at the same time?
They can't leave well enough alone. They have to get in there. Luna is a Republican from what part of the country?
Florida, right?
Right. And look, not to cast aspersions on her, but I get a little nervous when there's like Miami Cuban types involved in trying to tell me that they're going to look at the files. She's up in Tampa, that area of the country up there, but nevertheless, it makes me very nervous when these people all of a sudden trying to separate, to get in between us and the files.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me. And of course, everybody is so excited about it. They're like, "Oh yeah," and it's like, "Whoa, just release them, just release them."
Right? No, but she could have. She and others, like this cat Cohen in Tennessee, could have gotten a call from their donors saying, "I'd like you to get between these documents and the public. There may be something in there I am interested in." And that's all it takes, Eric, is that phone call from your billionaire donor. You may not even know what the hell they're talking about. Next thing you got to do is jump to their tune, have a press conference and say, I, Joe Blow, have decided to take a look at these things in a SCIF, of course, where I wouldn't want to release them. And these are buffers so they could tell the people who asked them to do it what those people are looking for, if that makes any sense to anyone.
Oh no, it totally does. Or make determinations, because remember, he only said a plan. Well, the plan
that's right. To continue,
bury half of them.
It's a plan. It was a plan of 7 days. The ODNI person was fired. The affirmative action. So Tulsi Gabbard has got to get in there to oversee the Ratcliffe CIA part of this thing. And she would be in charge of everything in national security anyway. Bondi can handle the Justice Department stuff. And I think that you need Patel at FBI, who they're going to give the courtesy of releasing these 2,400 documents. And interestingly enough, we were talking about these documents, and you could go look at them like I do all the time. If you have some free time, go to the National Archives website. It's easily accessible. It's easily used by people who are lame-oxes like me to click on 2023's release of documents and just go through it. These are your documents, people. Your relatives and yourself have paid for this. They don't own you. They don't own these docs. You don't have to rely on me and Jim DiEugenio and everyone else to go through them for you. You could get off your fat ass and have a look. They're not complicated.
Guess what? They're actually being scraped right now for AI.
Which
will help a great deal with parsing and things like that. There's a project going on. And if you want to learn more about it, it's at erichunley.com/JFK files. And some money is being raised to, support some of the equipment that's literally cataloging all this information. But the AI can be very useful for when you're trying to search and trying to draw parallels and connections, and it's also citing the sources or original documents. So I'm pretty excited
that's cool.
about that project. I think there's a lot of benefit with it.
Something's going to give in the next few weeks. So I think they just needs to get the people in charge of these departments in charge of these departments, which seems to be a mammoth death struggle with the.
Tulsi's supposed to be confirmed today, I think.
Well, there's cloture. There was a vote on cloture, and then there'll be floor votes, the official floor votes, which I don't know. It's going to happen this week, I presume, right?
Well, they said this morning that on two-way that Tulsi was supposed to be confirmed today, most likely.
Well, you might want to take a look at this little 15-second trailer I sent you from the Super Bowl to see what the situation is in Hollywood, because there are changes going on out here, and they are ground-shaking changes. They are starting to shift seismically and culturally, and I thought that this little 18-second clip may explain a lot of what's going on out here, because it's getting crazy.
All right, I'm going to mute it because...
Yeah, just mute it, because you don't really need it. But when you get to about 17 seconds in, This is for this new Marvel action film called The Thunderbolts. This woman stands up, and you can freeze it right there, Hunley. Just go back. And if you just play that little segment there, you may get something that's interesting.
The Avengers are not coming.
Okay, that's all you need to say. This trailer, which aired in the Super Bowl, was cut within a week of her testimony where she wore that same outfit in front of the House Judiciary Committee. That's how quickly, this is the point of this little segment I'm doing, that, and this is a big movie, that's how quickly she's not even confirmed yet, and she's in the trailer for the movie in the same outfit she wore during the confirmation hearings. They are starting to quake in their boots, and there's other things that I wanted to talk about regarding Hollywood, and that is that Brendan Carr is going after Comcast. He's going after NBC. They want to make conservative movies. They don't know what to do. They're flipping out. There are 2 nominees for Best Actor. One of them, both of them, excuse me?
The trans one? That's
no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Apprentice movie with Trump. There's a guy who plays Trump, and there's a guy who plays Roy Cohn. That movie has not been picked up for streaming. That movie is in big trouble because it mocks Trump. There are such movements going on under the ground here now that this is all starting to be covered by the LA Times, that they're starting to, the Queen Mary, the gigantic ship, is starting to turn around in the harbor. And it's fascinating to slowly watch this ship turn around. But man, oh man, is it interesting now. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that they know how to do it. I mean, the signs are there. There's a movie that came out a couple years ago called Maverick that set the world on fire. The movie Twisters, I know you didn't care for the ending, but Twisters is fantastic. So there's already examples of, how do you make, there you go, just make those again. It's not rocket science.
They know how to make it. It's just that not everybody's on board yet. So, I mean, you have to find screenwriters who can write that stuff. You have to, I'm not talking about a one-off like the Reagan movie with Dennis Quaid. I'm talking about entire slates of movies that don't mock the culture and do insidious things within the movie. You know, that is a sea change. And I think what scared them, and I'll say this again, is there's a pointing of these 3 ambassadors to Hollywood: Jon Voight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson. I believe that they are going to end up, just to get back to Trump and the lawsuit against CBS, the judge said their protests to dismiss the lawsuit are moot. This thing is going forward. Trump doubled the amount of money to $20 billion. This is Paramount Pictures. Keep in mind what he's going after. He's going after the whale here. This is Jonah and the whale, and he is trying to harpoon a Hollywood studio, thereby harpooning the others. I believe, as part of the settlement, these 3 gentlemen, these Hollywood icons, will end up on the board of directors of each of the Hollywood studios. I think that's going to be part of Trump's plan.
You mean like Dana White being on the board of directors of Meta?
Exactly. And I believe that this lawsuit is going to have demands inside of it, like the Diebold lawsuit had to Fox on taking down Tucker Carlson, which had nothing to do with voting machines. In that lawsuit was the end of Tucker Carlson's career at Fox. A similar thing is going to happen in Trump's lawsuit against Paramount. Now, that being said, Brendan Carr wrote a pretty harsh letter to NBC and Comcast today saying they are hiding their DEI programs, and he's not going to accept the hiding of DEI programs. Walt Disney Company today announced the dropping of 2 major DEI programs, Eric. So you're beginning to see, using the pressure of the FCC and using the sledgehammer of Trump, you're beginning to see that they're starting to roll back their crazy operations.
I'll tell you what, when they get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, I'll start to believe Disney may be changing. Until that point, I'll be like, yeah, okay, they're just shifting things around. Right. moving chairs on the Titanic or whatever. Okay, well, while we're on it, because a lot of this is DOGE is exposing so much. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Elon Musk was with Trump today. And
Oh,
I don't know if
wow.
you saw this. This is a very interesting little segment.
Wow, look at that. That's weird, man. Wow.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million,
right,
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened to USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps.
Yeah.
But just they seem to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where do they come from?
Well, just to answer part of his question, I think he's talking about Samantha Powers, who came in with a salary of $118,000. Is he talking about Samantha Powers? Because that was
her and others. Is she 30 million? Because then you had that FEMA person. Anyway, what I love is they're investigating federal employees now and tracking the money.
Oh man, they must be freaking the fuck out, Eric. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, and I love how he presented that, though. That was pretty smooth on the presentation, that sense of it could be a good investors, and then we should learn how to
he has a weird kind of sarcasm. Like Trump has this Queens, New York sarcasm that's super effing dry, that even sarcastic New Yorkers aren't comfortable with. And then he's got his own kind of sarcasm, some South African model of sarcasm that I'm not even used to what that is. He's got his own weird one.
Well, his is like a combination of South Africa and trolling and autism.
Right. So he's got a mishmash. He's got a mishmash there.
Yeah, he's got a lot going. Here's another little segment that I thought was fun to watch here.
Your detractors, Mr. Musk.
I have to what?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted.
This is the most important part of this right there, I think, is look at Trump just sitting there smiling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's happy as can be. People are like, oh, Musk is in trouble because he's drawing the spotlight away from Trump. And it's like, no, Trump's saying, look at my guy dance. Look at my guy dance.
His guy dancing is the wealthiest brainiac in the world.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that's your underling, that's a great underling to have.
100%. But I think it's important to see that because, they're trying to he's obviously doing this for Trump. I mean,
like Trump said, he doesn't need the money. I mean, what's he doing for himself? Is he working on commission where he keeps 3% of everything he finds? Exactly. I mean, what are you kidding with this?
Yeah.
This is Bruce Wayne. He's just going into Gotham and finding out the police commission is corrupt.
100%. 100%.
But there was a segment yesterday where he signed the executive order banning straws, which at the end he goes, I'm sure it's not going to affect the sharks munching through the water on plastic or paper straws. I mean, dude, the guy with the book was cracking up. The guy standing next to him who explains the executive orders couldn't keep a straight face anymore when he started talking about sharks munching through the water.
Well, he's all over the map. Sean Spicer was talking about that earlier too. Part of why these executive order signings are also rolling press conferences. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he'll do one thing, banning straws, and then another one like promoting people to a position, and then shutting down a department. It's all in the same sequence.
It's all the same sequence. It's all in a day's work.
Boom, boom, boom. It's just such a shotgun effect.
Well, I hope that I'd like to see this Brendan Carr go after the View under the fairness doctrine and just try to remove them from ABC. They are allowed 1.5 hours or however the show is on, just nonstop political dogma. In other words, the news can't do what the View is doing. The ABC Evening News, CBS Evening News can't do what the View is getting away with. Now, either you reinstitute the fairness doctrine or give equal time or sue them. But something's got to give with this show. Something's got to give. You can't just have 1 hour of a free fire zone with one-sided political dogma on a major network that's licensed and owned by the American people.
True. Now, Newsmax got CNN slot somewhere. I saw that.
At the Pentagon. At the Pentagon.
Okay, so you're already seeing some of that right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Wow,
I'm just a couple of days or weeks ahead of the current zeitgeist. I'm calling for the View to become part of the scrutiny by Brendan Carr, and I'm sure it's in his radar. Brendan Carr is going after the studios, which is just absolutely fantastic to begin with. But yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll get to Google and everything else.
You know, and to reach back to what you were talking about with the conservative, they're looking for conservative projects. I couldn't help it. What popped in my head was, imagine a conservative West Wing.
Yeah, conservative West Wing, or
and there is a show, or there was a show on. Leslie and I have been binging it. I never watched it when it was on, but Tim Allen's show, Last Man Standing.
Yeah, a lot of people like that. I'm gonna have to take a look at it.
It's a great show, and he's completely conservative in it. Completely.
Well, he is. That's him.
I know, but I'm so shocked seeing a show mocking Obama, and it was on ABC. I'm like, whoa! How did
no? That's part of what I'm talking about. They are starting to. The Queen Mary's starting to turn around in the ocean. And that's why the Kendrick Lamar thing was so bizarre, because the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl show, where a guy actually ran out of that car with a Sudanese Palestinian flag as part of the show and was arrested by security. They cut that out in the Fox Live broadcast, but it's on every single internet channel you could find. And he was arrested. He was part of the show. He was one of Kendrick Lamar's guys. Kendrick Lamar signed with the NFL before Trump was elected. This thing was in the works before Trump was elected. And it was supposed to be Lil Wayne, who got completely dissed. And the NFL wrote a letter of apology yesterday to Lil Wayne, because Lil Wayne is from New Orleans. And he was scheduled to do the halftime show. And Lil Wayne is a little bit, has more broader appeal than Kendrick Lamar. I'll tell you that right now, although I'm not opposed to Kendrick Lamar. This was just a completely politicized show by Lamar under the assumption that Harris was going to win the election. And nobody would have noticed this at all, but it stood out so much like a sore thumb that every single website and every podcast has voted it the worst Super Bowl halftime show in American history. And only 2 years ago, they had Dr. Dre and Snoop and everybody, and it was Eminem. It was marvelous. So it's not about rap, because that show in 2022 was off the charts. This thing with Kendrick Lamar going on and on about his diss track with Drake and playing 20 minutes out of that diss. I mean, it's just crazily small. And, you know, I started to say last night, why don't they put a country act on, or a couple of country acts in the middle of the Super Bowl? I know. What is the deal? Why do we have rap every single halftime every year? They ended the end racism slogans in the end zone, by the way. They're gone in the back of the helmets. So even the mega woke NFL is starting to turn around in the harbor, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, they used to have country acts, or they'd have like long running rock acts like like Bon Jovi, or just kind of table stakes top 40 radio or whatever.
Right, which gets me into the next segment, which is about David Johansen, who has 4th stage brain cancer. This is the lead singer of the New York Dolls. He's not looking like he's going to make it, out of Staten Island, old friend of mine. One of the funniest guys I've ever known, David Johansen, who had an alter ego as Buster Poindexter, where he did a lounge act. He was in movies called like Scrooged and Let It Ride with Richard Dreyfuss, Scrooge with Bill Murray. One of these guys, he was like a Richard Belzer. He did a lot of TV, Eric, different shows like Oz and other crime shows and stuff, as a New York kind of character actor. I did a movie with him called Nick and Jane. But just a unbelievably wonderful guy. New York Dolls, still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if you, there he is with Bill Murray and Scrooge.
I didn't know that was him.
Oh yeah,
He
it's
was
David
in the
Johansen.
band. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, that's why I brought this up, because he the New York Dolls are still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And as Joe Strummer and Johnny Rotten said, if it wasn't for David Johansen and the New York Dolls, there wouldn't be no Clash and there wouldn't be no Sex Pistols. I mean, the manager of the Dolls was McLaren, who then set up the Sex Pistols and managed them afterwards. They won't let them in because of Clear Channel not owning their music. In other words, the only way people get into the Hall of Fame is through a bump from the label, and they don't own the New York Dolls' music from 1973. And so nobody's pushing for them. They've been nominated 3 times since 2001 to no avail. But one of the great lines that Johansen told me was, he said, he's not going in until Grand Funk Railroad gets in, which was just a brilliant joke. Johansen talks like an incredibly gravelly voice.
What do they have? They've been in the like 40 years eligible or something, haven't they?
Yeah.
Grand
And
yeah.
that's why he was making the joke about it. But the reality of it is, I mean, there is no glam rock, there is no metal without the New York Dolls. I mean, Johnny Thunders was their guitar player, for Christ's sakes. I mean, the influence of this band is so enormous that it spins off, not the band itself, but influentially into the Clash.
Yeah, they're like the Velvet
Sex
Underground.
Yeah, and they're still not in the Hall of Fame. And the point of the matter is that he's very sick and he's got stage 4 brain cancer. And I just wanted to put some love out there. His daughter's taking care of him. Probably back in New York, where he's from. He went to Newdorf High School. It just cracks me up thinking about it. But there's a group called Sweet Relief Musician Fund. Sweet, SWEET, Relief Musician Fund, and it's for rock and roll musicians who need help medically, financially and medically, which he does. So if anybody feels the urge to help David Johansen and his family, that's a website you can go to and donate money. Apparently they need money for his medical care at this point, probably going into a hospice fairly soon. So anything would help that with his daughter taking care of him. One of the great New York characters. And if you see any video of him doing Buster Poindexter, it's quite wild to see the transition that he created of like a velvet lounge act singer, the complete opposite of what he was as a New York Dolls singer. Anyway, I just want to put some love out for David.
All right, well, here, this has nothing to do with love. This is quite the opposite, but there is a rash of judges.
Oh, yeah.
That are going against the Trump agenda now. And Barnes was talking about this yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance.
I did see it yesterday. I thought they were on Sunday, and I saw it yesterday.
Oh, well, they Super Bowl Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So they skipped to Monday. But he was bringing up some really good points that they may have overplayed their hand, because judge after judge after judge.
Yeah.
How is it some one weenie federal judge in an area can just shut down the entire administration and say, no, you can't do that because I say? It's like, who made these people God?
It's really become judge fair now, not lawfare. I've coined a new phrase called judge fair, which is, these are judges who, the lawfare was the lawfare involving multi-level people in the law world. These are judges now by themselves. This is a judge-driven movement where someone, in this case, Letitia James, called this guy up. He was an emergency judge in the Southern District of New York.
Well, this guy wasn't the one I showed, but another guy.
I don't know which one you showed, but the one that they in New York, they knew that this guy was going to be there, and it was like 4:00 on Friday, and that's his beat to be the emergency judge. So they're hand-picking cats to literally say what they write for him to say as their puppet masters. Now, I don't know what the answer is, because there's very little you can do, and Barnes was...
well, I think Elon's on it.
Yeah.
I think
right, but that's an impossible situation. So you're talking about 66 votes in the Senate, so 67 votes. So that's out. Let's face the reality of it. It's a waste of time. What are the alternatives, Eric? What do you have? The alternatives are, Barnes discussed, is dissolving the district, dissolving the Southern District of New York, and just going with the Eastern District, dissolving the DC District, and just going with the Eastern District. You can dissolve them and send them to the hinterlands. In other words, if you dissolve that, you can't move them around like a chess piece. Only Congress can do that, which is doable.
But the Congress can cut their budgets.
It can
And
cut.
yep.
Barnes did talk about the budget cut, but that's not going to stop these maniacs. I think the elimination of the impeachment thing, there hasn't been a judge impeached since 2010. There's been like 17, I think, in American history. And they're usually, almost every single one of them are for financial crimes, as I recall. They're not for
I think
political.
there was one in 2014, and it was almost unanimous that he was impeached. He was like financial crimes, as you put it, like being paid off, gifts, everything else, like just pure graft.
It might have been a little earlier, like 2010, but it is always financial crimes, as you said. These ideological crimes. Now, what do you do, Eric? I mean, there's a couple of things you can do. Fast track your reply to the U.S. Supreme Court, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one. Number two is do nothing. Three, ignore it, like Biden did with the Supreme Court ruling. Now, Biden was ignoring Supreme Court rulings on student debt relief. There were two rulings that he disobeyed on both rulings, and nothing happened to him. But that plays into the Democrats' MO of weakening the Supreme Court. In other words, if the conservatives do that with a conservative court, where does that get you, Eric?
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't really help you in the long game. The short game, you can ignore the federal court judge and keep going, but that's also something conservatives are very uncomfortable to do. You know what I mean? And they know that. That's why issuing crazy rulings like they did, putting all the websites back up, destroying the evidence that you got in the USAID office building. They are now coming up with stuff on purpose because they know conservatives are extremely uncomfortable not to follow the judge's ruling, in my humble opinion.
But that's where I think Barnes is bringing up a good point.
Yeah.
There's a certain point where even the conservatives are like, okay, that's too far.
Right.
That's just nuts. This is
Right.
a bridge too far. And I think that, again, targeting USAID was such a perfect agency to target because they're defending things like what? Oh, you have to have your trans comic book?
Well, the judge is not doing that. That's the Democratic operatives. The judge he's merely going to the heart of the authority to do this stuff, which has to be ruled on by the United States Supreme Court, Eric, right?
Yeah, and hopefully that they will get moving on it.
That's the whole game. But what do you do in the meantime? You just sit there? What do you do?
Or you either maintain and continue what you're doing and ignore it, which is going to escalate it as well.
Well, where does it go? Let's play it out in your mind. Let's say they don't do what he says, right? Okay, now you've got a contempt citation against Elon Musk. They're trying to wrap a contempt thing around him and do a Steve Bannon on him and imprison him. That's where this is going. In case people at home don't realize this, they're going to try to wrap a contempt citation around his neck, Musk, and try to drag him into federal jail. He is the new Trump target that they can't touch the president. Even bringing up impeachment hearings is not going to get them anywhere. But they can get him on contempt. And I think
so. Bannon was not working directly for Trump at the time. Musk is.
I don't know what directly means.
Bannon was not working for Trump. When they charged him, they demanded the information from Bannon.
Right.
It was for information around January 6th timeframe, and he was not under Trump's purview. Right now, everything Musk is doing is under direct supervision of Donald Trump. So he does have that immunity, I believe.
That's debatable. That's highly debatable, bro.
Well, I don't know, but I don't think they get contempt on him.
No, that's not going to stop them. I mean, you're talking about that he's got executive privilege. That's highly debated in the history of the United States. That's what Bannon cited. That's what Navarro cited. They ended up in federal prison.
I know, but the difference, like I specifically am saying with Bannon, he did not have executive privilege because he was not doing something for Trump at the time under Trump. He wasn't
right.
working
No.
for Trump.
He was saying, okay, the executive privilege when it comes to hit you in the head doesn't have to be the week you're working there. It could be after you're gone. He was citing, as was Navarro, that they were when the crimes occurred. like you're saying, were working for the administration. They said, "Go fuck yourself. We don't care." They both cited executive privilege, and both of them lost. Both of them lost.
I know that, but I'm pointing out a difference, because when okay, if I work for you, Mark, and you're the president, okay, and I'm doing whatever, blah blah blah, and then I am no longer working for you, but I'm doing stuff for you, on the outside or whatever it is, but I'm not doing it under the authority. I'm not paid by the government. I don't have a title from the government or anything else, and then I get cited or demanded to answer questions about this part of my time, not the part of time where I was working directly for you and had the title, but later on when I'm not directly working for you, that makes it fall apart on the immunity.
Well, we're going to see. By the way, they're leaking this ICE stuff out of the FBI office here in LA. It's here that they're doing this, by the way. I didn't know it was LA. So they're closing in on the actual person, apparently.
I think Conan knows who it is. He kind of let it come out, and then Christy Nome attacked the FBI on the issue.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see who it is. I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be some transparency. I mean,
Lock them up.
Right. So somebody's got to go to jail for something at some point. Who is going to be the first person to go to jail on these things?
I don't know, but I'm eager to see somebody. Come on. I want a head to roll. I want to know. You're like Elon Musk when he does the salaries. I want to know. Hey, did you get that money?
All right. Well, would you support digging up dirt on these judges, having an outside? Sure. Okay. Well, that was quick. Because I do. Having an outside group, whether it's Charlie Kirk's group, Eric, Turning Point USA, or people with some separation from the Oval Office, going after these judges like the nipple guy in New York was a freak. And then we found out a lot about the other guy with his daughter donating money to Biden. Is there a group that's needed, a kind of plumber's unit, to use the phrase, that should be brought into play now? Because it seems that they will not cooperate no matter what the law says.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with this, concept. They are public servants on the payroll, and their salary is public record. If they're donating to people like that one judge, one of these judges that did the rules, is a freaking Democrat mega donor from back when he was a trial lawyer. And yes, I mean, you're a public servant. You can fall under scrutiny as long as you're not harassed or people aren't bothering you or whatever. Investigate. Use PIs.
Is this a judicial coup in your mind? One man is overruling 75 million voters.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
There needs to be. There demands clarity from the Supreme Court on this, or it's never going to end. Whatever your ruling is at the Supreme Court, you're going to have to get off your fat asses and stop feeding at the buffet. And whoever the Solicitor General is for Trump, and I don't know who that is, but somebody in the chat might know. It was Ted Cruz, by the way, years ago. Remember, Ted Cruz was a Solicitor General at some point. Dershowitz would be a great Solicitor General. He'd love to do it. I assume he's got somebody doing this already, but it's a great job for a law nerd, to be the Solicitor General.
Sure. Ted Cruz is a brilliant litigator.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize that he is a winning lawyer in front of the Supreme Court. Won multiple cases.
This Judge Bates, by the way, is a George Bush appointee. In case anybody was wondering where this mutt came from. It came from Bush World, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of charges, what about the Adams case in New York, Southern District of New York? What the hell was that about?
By not doing a pardon and just making them go away, he is giving Adams a chance to run again. And I'll go to two-way, but I think they bring up a good point. He has just got himself a Democrat anti-immigration warrior.
Yeah.
Because even if Adams can't win another election, he still can be out there marching for Trump, saying, I lost my seat because I followed Donald Trump's anti-immigration because I was doing what the people wanted.
I completely agree with you, because the base of his support are black New Yorkers, and nobody is more anti-illegal immigrant than the black people in New York because they're taking all their benefits away. This woman who was marched out of FEMA today, she, despite the order to freeze the payments, sent millions and millions additional dollars to these luxury hotels in New York, despite Trump ruling to freeze the FEMA money on this thing. And that money goes to Pakistan, of all places, because Pakistan owns these hotels that they're using to house the illegal aliens. So your tax dollars are now going to Pakistan, for Christ's sakes. 59. Yeah, this is the 59 million FEMA. That money is going to the hotels, and the hotels in this particular case happen to be owned by Pakistan. So it's really a strange route of where the money's going.
And by the way, is that criminal? She was ordered not to.
Yeah.
She's literally stealing money from the government when she's doing this, in my opinion. And if any of it is getting back to her, hey, I'll lock her up. I mean, I am.
Well, that
serious.
was brought up. They did mention that they might seek charges against her. But again, these discussions about charges are different than marching somebody with handcuffs into a prison. You know, I mean, until they are physically in prison, I've said this for years on the show, they will not stop. And there seems to be a reluctance on the part of the right to imprison any of their enemies. No matter what they do, Eric.
Well, Cash isn't in yet. Give him a minute.
Okay, all right.
In fairness, and Pam Bondi
Somebody's got to be a junkyard dog here. Somebody's got to be a junkyard dog and do the dirty work.
Pam Bondi has sent some decent signals that she might, and you got to get Patel in there to actually start the investigations. You can't just go do it. You have to do the investigations, and it can take a year or two to roll it all up, and that's fine.
I think the American people are tired of strongly worded letters. You know,
no,
I'm just putting that out there. They want to see somebody dragged off into prison. I mean, I don't know what is so difficult. Do they need a TV show like America's Most Wanted just for political prisoners? I mean, what are they going to do when they come for you?
Well, there's a template already. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, when Patel gets in there, we can have the news tipped off just like they were with Mar-a-Lago, just like they were with Roger Stone, and bang, 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 her door's smashed open and her place is searched, and the poor FEMA person. So it's been done.
You know, did you read this story? This is out of Axios. Some reporter has a book on Trump about the assassinations, and there's a couple of stories in the book which I'd like to throw out because you may not have been aware of it. Maybe the audience is not aware of it. They had decoy Trump planes flying all summer because of this Iranian assassination attempt that's being documented in this book. They had decoy planes, and when Trump was in an SUV, they sat him in the middle of the back seat to avoid the window because of snipers. Apparently, they described surface-to-air missiles that were on the ground in the United States trying to target his plane. Apparently, these were not rumors. It's quite real and is detailed in a lot of detail in this new book. Seating him in the middle of the SUV for physical reasons to avoid snipers. But the best story was they were being tracked by a drone, and the Secret Service agent opened up the moonroof of the SUV and shot down the drone with an electromagnetic gun, causing it to fall to the earth while the motorcade kept going, Eric. I mean,
they sell those guns. There's a place out of Jersey that sells them. Because
this is an amazing story regarding Trump's assassination attempts by Iran. This has nothing to do with Crooks and the other cat. This is just
Iran, though?
Well, that's what the book says. So I don't know what it was. I don't know. I can't really comment one way or the other. But the electromagnetic gun story, the decoy plane story, the positioning in the car story have all been verified. So just absolutely fascinating that they were stalking the president of the United States, not unlike his doppelganger, JFK, during the summer and year of 1963, with attempts in Tampa, attempts in Chicago, attempts in Miami, and finally nailing him in Dallas. I mean, there's footage of Trump with Musk, with the rocket landing that looks exactly like JFK with Werner von Braun at NASA.
And,
I mean,
and LeMay when they were staring up at the.
yeah, I mean, the situation with Werner von Braun and the comparison to Musk is kind of closer, I think, than the LeMay thing. But there's going to the moon, plus the assassination attempts, plus they don't take their own salaries, plus they come from money, plus they're both womenizers, plus they're both good-looking guys, plus they had multiple assassination attempts. There should be a book just on the similarities between JFK and Trump. I mean, it's really enormous.
Well, it's what I think we were saying the last show. I was saying that I feel like Trump, like JFK, is a visionary president,
Right.
and we've had nothing but managers.
Right,
Except
both anti-war, Eric. Both wanted, again, Trump ordering the withdrawal of troops from Syria, not carried out by disruptive generals. And JFK ordering the troop withdrawal from South Vietnam, not carried out by disruptive generals. I mean, I've got a list of things notes I was just taking about the two similarities of the two people. It's astounding, Eric.
Yeah, I should do a thread on it.
I mean, his own members of his own family turned against JFK politically. Members of Trump's own family, Mary Trump and others, have turned against him politically.
Yeah.
Shocking, really shocking. What's more shocking is to me and nobody else that this ceasefire in the Gaza is not holding up, and Trump is giving them till Saturday at noon.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys came out of captivity, and I almost fell off the couch. They looked like they had come out of Auschwitz. The condition that these people were in. I mean, who would like to see the end of the head of Hamas in an electric chair, or the famous footage of the end of Saddam Hussein? I mean, who would pay to see that with the head of Hamas?
Yeah, I think that it's going to happen. You may not see it happen, but ultimately, he will probably leave the planet at some point.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, I
agree. I mean, they take this very personally, the Mossad.
Yeah, didn't they? The Olympics. I don't think anybody survived that one.
No, they let one guy's daughter survive, so she could tell everyone what happened.
Yeah,
but yeah, the ceasefire. I don't know what Trump is thinking of, but there's footage. Again, like I said last week, he is now meeting with King Hussein of Jordan, who agreed to take 2,000 children right off the bat as a tip of the hat to Trump. He will be forced to take a lot more, in my humble opinion, of these Palestinians in Gaza. The head of Egypt is coming in next. He will have to take a lot more than 2,000 children like King Hussein did.
I got a question for you on that. And you can straighten me out because I don't follow it forever. But I was thinking about the ownership of Gaza. And technically, Egypt can have it. I mean, it was taken from Egypt in 1967 after the Six-Day War, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was ever completely resolved that, whether Israel had official ownership of it or not. So Egypt should be high on the list.
Well, they offered a plan. They offered a plan today. They put out a feeler today, Egypt, about doing the rebuilding in Gaza. They put that out and allowing the Palestinians to stay in Gaza during the rebuilding. I mean, that part was a little fuzzy. Where do they stay? Like in the ocean? I mean, it seems a little sketchy. But again, they will try anything not to take these Palestinians, and Trump is going to ram them down their throats. That's what he's going to do. It was done with the Syrians. 7 million Syrians were dispersed around the world. I don't think Western Europe wants any part of the Palestinians, and rightfully so. And I think Trump is going to make the Arab countries take them and divide them up.
I think that potentially the dividing them up is the most important part, in the sense of they have a better chance to survive rather than be ghettoized in one place if they're spread out everywhere. And then they also are maybe a little less likely to get together and kill another Egyptian official.
Yeah, I mean, these are regular families, though. These are not, secret police who are going to go into. I mean, these are just impoverished families.
Right. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is that it has been shown, like if you can move into a better neighborhood than you are now, you tend to rise up to the to the equilibrium.
Well, the point
versus,
is, if you look at where they're living, it's rubble, Eric, right?
yeah.
I mean, where were they supposed? It's rubble. It's complete rubble. I mean, it's like asking the people in the Pacific Palisades to live in the rubble that they have out here. And now this guy Soberoff, speaking of rubble, this guy Soberoff was appointed by Karen Bass to be the rebuilding housing czar, and she secretly awarded him $500,000 out of the money from the private donations, and they got caught. And he had already brought on a friend for $250,000, and I don't mean annually. I mean for 90 days just to be a consultant, $500,000. The guy says, yeah, my time is very valuable. He's 76 years old, retired, and living somewhere in Woodland Hills, this guy. And now, because they got caught, he's saying, I'll do it for free. What he's doing for free, nobody knows anyway what he's supposed to do, this guy. I mean, you talk about a guy, she's trying to make this her Elon Musk. Not that he's going to rout out financial fraud.
No, he's going to find methods for her.
Exactly.
He's going to find ways to do it.
Right. Rick Grinnell immediately came out and said that's why we attach strings to the money, to give a jab to the Democrats who said you can't attach any strings to any money in a disaster. They immediately robbed $750,000 from the relief fund. Immediately. I mean, these people are shameless. They will build a Marxist resort with the money if they don't get watched for 24/7, Eric.
Well, I'm just curious. Again, I keep saying charges. Can there be charges? Is this illegal or not? I mean, what are the ramifications? This is taxpayer money that is being stolen, in my opinion.
Well, in this case, it was donations, private donations for the relief of the victims. Well, you know what I mean? So it's not taxpayers' money, but we're going to see what's going to happen here because something's going to give. The first person sold their land last night for $1 million. They sold a parcel. Here it is, $1,999,000. This is going to start a feeding frenzy. I predicted this a while ago. This is a lot that had their home on it. It's a pretty big lot. It's 10,000 square feet.
What is that? Is that an acre or?
Well, I don't know the exact size of it, but 10,000 square feet is a pretty big lot in the heart of this incredibly wealthy area. Now, I believe, and I said this on the show, that they will flip this. In other words, this is going to be like flipping houses. It's going to be flipping parcels that makes any sense to anybody. Because if you bought this for $1 million and you can turn around and flip it for $1.2 million tomorrow, your work is done. You just made $200,000 in one day, Eric. And I said this was going to happen. They're now going to start buying up in a feeding frenzy all the parcels. And the people want the money. They want to get out. That family that sold, they said, we're not going back. Now what's going to end up there?
Okay, it's about less than a quarter of an acre.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking for people who are wondering, how much is land worth, whatever, blah blah blah.
It's worth quite a bit in the Pacific Palisades in Malibu. Yeah, that's why I said they should build luxury condos, and not a communist apartment building, as people put words in my mouth that I was proposing.
Oh well, know what we say. What I say about the comments.
What?
What they lack in knowledge, they make up for in certainty.
Oh, that's a great comment. I like that. I'm going to get a T-shirt that says that. That's really cool.
Okay. This is an off note, or a different story, but it was breaking right before we came on. At least I heard about it. You remember how Tim Pool was swatted a whole ton of times?
Yeah.
Jeremy from the Quartering. And just for folks who don't know what swatting is, it is where some nefarious person on the internet calls the local police and they will make a claim like that a person has their family held under gunpoint. They're going to do very bad things, whatever. And then the police, because it's a heightened situation, they react by sending out the SWAT team, and people have been killed by this. It can be seen as an attempted murder because you're heightening the response to such a degree by claiming that these bad things are happening, that pets have been killed, property damage, things like that. Jeremy from the Quartering, his wife was on the ground, in handcuffs, thrown down, even though supposedly she was a victim. I don't know how that works out. But anyway, this serial swatter teen was sentenced today. They caught him. He had over 400 incidents.
Like an arsonist.
And he was being paid to do it. He was offering
Interesting.
SWAT services.
Wow, it's an industry.
This guy, Alan Fillion, he not only targeted the YouTubers, but also religious institutions, government officials, high schools, colleges, and universities.
But was he a gun for hire?
He was a swatter for hire.
Wow. Well, who hired him?
Well, that's the beauty of it. He has been sentenced to 4 years. He was facing 25 years.
Right on.
And he made a deal for 4 years, and he is going to roll on who's hiring him. So this is the most important thing.
Wow, that's a good one, Eric.
Who hired him to go after Tim Pool? Who hired him to go after the Quartering? And whatever. And
I like that.
USAID money got into it.
Dude, I mean, even the woman from Reddit, the CEO of Reddit, is owned and received tons of money from USAID. The head of Reddit. That's a fake deep state operation, Reddit.
Yeah.
Wow.
USAID is just, it is a gift. I'm telling you, we're going to be talking about that thing. For
USAID, I mean, we talked about it because we linked, obviously Ruth Payne's father to USAID and Tucker's father. And Tucker finally said this week in this interview that he did with Mike Benz that his father worked for USAID. People were saying I was wrong. And Tucker admitted it on the show. He had been admitted that he had been the head of Voice of America. And, people were throwing Wikipedia at me saying, you're wrong. It's not in Wikipedia. And again, Wikipedia itself is part of the operation. So anyway, Tucker, to his credit, admitted rather sheepishly in the Mike Benz interview last week that his father worked for USAID.
Hey, Chet, while you're on go to USA Spending. How much money was donated to Wikipedia from USAID?
Yeah. I mean, Wikipedia is good if you want to know Mickey Mantle's birthplace. Generic facts.
Sure.
It's a shorthand, it's a Google, it's a kind of a thing. But if you get into anything political, the last place you should look is Wikipedia. Somebody dug up a show we did where I was talking about Lee Harvey Oswald's rifle and reposted it on Twitter because I had traced the longitude and latitude back to Langley as the final edit of Wikipedia for that particular debate over which rifle is in the Smithsonian. Somebody found that, which I forgot we even did that. But yeah, I mean, you can't, until we get to the bottom of all this, and it's happening so quickly, Eric, we can't trust any of these institutions right now.
Yeah. That's another thing that's interesting too. I don't know if you saw JD Vance's at the AI conference. And
I did not see his speech. No, I didn't.
I only saw a minute of his speech. Yeah. But anyway, the point is that what I did see of it, he was at the conference. He was talking about AI and essentially how it's being trained, for nefarious operations. And like if you use ChatGPT, you can see how woke it is compared to Grok as an example.
Mm-hmm.
He is promising, and we will see, I hope it does come to be, that it is not going to be tethered with, banning free speech or adding into EI or woke bullshit.
Right.
That it will be a more open, clean platform. I hope that is the case because that could be very, very, very useful and important. And then guess what? Wikipedia is garbage. It doesn't matter. You could just go, hey, ChatGPT, or hey, whatever.
Yeah. It's going to be obsolete.
Exactly. So in a weird way,
it's half
the market is correcting itself.
Yeah, I know you were going to say that. That's pretty hip. The situation you're talking about, the free market is destroying Wikipedia.
100%, and also Google. That's why Google is scrambling because what do people use a search engine for? They're trying to find information. If they can just say, who's playing the game tonight and where is it, and they get an answer, They don't go to a site that generates an ad that feeds Google money.
Yeah.
They just got the answer. They don't need to go to all that. Other
Dude, I went to Google. I didn't go to Google, but I Googled, did New York Times receive money from USAID? And the rankings were 11 consecutive articles by the New York Times denying it. That was the ranking from Google as to, and then the rest were media legacy answers after that anyway. But the first 10 or 11 were the New York Times denying receiving money politically from USAID.
Yeah, go to Grok. Grok's much better on that.
Right.
Because you got a check mark, so I know you can use Grok.
No, I have used Grok lately. I have. Okay. It's a lot of fun.
And it's great for that kind of thing too, because it's pulling up tweets and trends and stuff saying, no, what the hell's going on? Speaking of things going on, Pamela Clifton's here with $1. Okay,
that's going on.
We have Pasha Live, and On Locals are not mutually exclusive.
He's right about that.
That is true. That is true. Chad Curtis says, would the Marilyn Monroe files be ingrained release? Give us what? I guess they're asking if there's more Marilyn Monroe files tied in.
It sounds salacious, Curtis, Chad Curtis. It sounds like you just want pussy and tits files released. Is that what your goal is?
Ouch. And Fletcher Boy wants to know if there will be Elvis impersonators.
I
don't know. No. Last year.
What happened last year?
Barnes was dressed as Elvis.
Oh,
he was on platforms. It was kind of funny because he had like 4-inch platform shoes that he was wearing.
Okay, I just want to put this out there. There's a movie called Companion that I highly recommend. It's not nominated. I don't know why it's not nominated, but it's in the theaters. What's that?
Because it's good. Sorry,
it's really good.
That's why it's not nominated.
Yeah, I was shocked how good it was. It's a science fiction-y thing, like a robot girlfriend kind of thing, but it really is cool. It's a cool little film with Dennis Quaid's son from Meg Ryan as the star, and then anyway, I don't want to give any of it away, but it's a fascinatingly cool.
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, one of the Quaid, I forget. And then I saw Nora. I'm trying to work my way through the list of all the nominated films. So last night I knocked off Sean Baker's new film, Nora, which is a pole dancer falls in love with a kid who's Russian in Brooklyn. Oh boy, that was troublesome. So I'm left with Dune Part 2. I'm currently in the middle of Dune 1. Left with Dune Part 2. I saw The Substance with Demi Moore, so that's done. I saw Conclave. I saw Complete Unknown. I saw Amelia Perez. I saw Honora. I have to see The Brutalist this week and Wicked. That's going to be a rough week. But
Dune Part 1, if I recall, is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm watching it now. Yeah, I started it last night. It's a long film, but I just want to see it so I could do Dune 2.
Sure.
And then I'll be left with I'm Still Here, the Nickel Boys. I don't know if I could get to the Nickel Boys, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do all 10 this year, so you don't have to, Eric.
You know what? Somebody wrote in asking that you keep doing the movie plugs. They were like, we should do it on every show, whatever.
I said Companion. That's what I'm saying. Companion. Yeah. Highly recommended, really fascinating, futuristically, not in the future, but futuristic theme of these robots. Really well done.
Cool. All right. Well, speaking of robots, but not really, we'll talk about balloons.
Yeah. What was in this balloon? I'm reading this morning before I sent it to you. What the hell is in there?
I mean,
dude, this is crazy. I printed out the article. Hold on, let me just look here.
Oh gosh,
Chinese spy balloon
had a bunch of U.S. tech. I'm not completely surprised.
Yeah. How does it get in the balloon?
Well, I mean, if it's available in the open market, unless it's a controlled item, why not? And also, a lot of our tech is built there. I mean, if you think about it,
maybe they're referring to them using our tech. Oh, sure, I didn't get it. No, that makes sense. I thought the balloon had picked it up somehow from the ground through some sort of surveillance. But you're saying the balloon itself was designed with U.S. tech.
Yeah, I bet you.
Okay, I didn't understand that. You're correct. You're correct. Good point.
Yeah.
Good
I
point.
mean-
Holy crap. Well, the same could be true for the drones. If we ever get to the bottom of the drone mystery, that could be Chinese tech too, that but we're using it.
I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I mean, I have a drone. It's just Chinese. It's DJI. DJI has I think damn near a monopoly on the drone market, about 90% of consumer.
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah.
You have like Parrot, which is a French company, and that's very small, etc. But DJI just dominates, and they're better than everybody else's. They've gotten ahead of the market, and they're really good drones. So
Okay.
I would not be surprised at all when you have the consumer company that far ahead. Of course, we've kind of done it to ourselves because every iPhone, well, not anymore, but most iPhones are made in China.
Right.
Where are the Android phones made? China. You know, it doesn't take, too much when they're building all of our products under a license. So they have the technology.
Yeah.
DeepSeek sent the
It was just
world
banned
on
today,
fire.
right? Was it banned yesterday?
Was it banned? No, I didn't know.
There was
banned.
some sort of banning yesterday by by something in the government. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay, well, DeepSeek is just ChatGPT stolen, and
Right.
ChatGPT stole everybody else's stuff. So it's kind of like there was a great movie. I'm going to give a movie recommendation.
Go ahead, Hunley. Go ahead.
But I do have it up on X and in locals as well, if you want to watch it. Pirates of Silicon Valley is a phenomenal movie. It was done on TNT back in the 90s, made for TV. And it's a story of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs leading all the way to Steve Jobs coming back to Apple. And in that movie, there's a scene where he's so angry at Bill Gates for stealing Windows because obviously,
I think I did see that. How old is
it?
I think I've seen this.
Late 90s.
Oh no, I've seen it. Yeah,
I'm sure it's a good movie. Noah Wiley did such a good job that Steve Jobs brought him out on stage to introduce Macworld that year.
Did you hear Barnes talking about Gates yesterday?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, I mean,
wow.
Oh, I can't. I'm actually going to have somebody on interviewing him again to talk about Bill Gates' legacy. I feel that Bill Gates is more of a James Bond villain and worse than Fauci.
Right.
I think he's the most dangerous man alive. He's worse than Soros. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I feel
he's
that
worse than Fauci.
By far, because Fauci had to have the government position to have the power.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates doesn't need a government position.
Mm.
Bill Gates is like an Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk,
an evil Musk. He's like the alternate Spectre. Yes. Elon Musk.
Well, and I think that's part of why Elon Musk is doing what he's doing now. Is he kind of, Elon Musk is like Tony Stark. If you're going to get into the
realm. Or Bruce Wayne, but Tony Stark is closer too.
Any of these, but
that would make Gates Lex Luthor. Right.
I don't think that's an unfair analogy.
I like Lex Luthor. That's a good one.
So anyway, he has the money, he has the means, he has it bought in, he's bought up all the land. There's so much.
Well, as Barnes pointed out, he is against population. That's like his whole against human life itself. Correct. Whether he kills it before it gets here or shortens it when it is here.
Well, so was his father, who was on the board of Planned Parenthood, working with Margaret Sanger, I believe it was. So they don't like humans. Unless it's theirs.
That's his one caveat, unless they're on an island in the Caribbean.
Right now, versus Elon Musk, who's trying to crank out as many kids as possible, no matter how many mothers it takes.
Anyway. Elon Musk is the ascetic Jew of superheroes.
Yeah,
just cranking out. I mean, look, it used to be the Irish. The Hasidim started doing it after World War II to repopulate the Jewish community. And now Musk is doing it to fight back against the evil Gates.
I think so. I think it's.
I think Kennedy came from a 12-child family, and RFK Jr. I think may have 8. or some number. I'm not sure. Some large number. I'm not sure how many.
Well, he's trying until the wives quit on them.
Right. He runs out of wives. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to keep the wife going. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, better they pass away than marry younger.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all right. So some interesting news. Bannon pled guilty today.
Oh, what was this about? Oh, I knew. Right. He mentioned this. I saw him with Piers Morgan the other day, and I saw him on another show the day before. I went into a deep Bannon weekend, or 2 big shows with Bannon. He was essentially saying the same thing on both shows. He had the same talking points, but he mentioned this case because they asked him, "Do you think you're going to go to prison again?" And he said, "No, I think it's going to be a fine."
Yeah, he made a deal on it, and he's not going to go in prison, but he did plead guilty to it. So he is officially a felon.
What did he go before? Was he a felon when he went to jail on the contempt thing, or that's not a felony? Because he described his situation. He said, if you think that I was in a country club, you're out of your mind. He said, I was in a federal prison that holds 800 and it had 1,700 inmates in there. And it was really rough. He was not kidding around when he said he had a tough time in there.
I don't know what the charge
and they said, oh, I know.
He
added this. Yeah, he said no one in the federal prison system, in the prison he was in, had ever been in there for a misdemeanor. No, they researched it, and he was the only one in American history to go in there for a misdemeanor.
Okay, well, there you go. Misdemeanor, and a misdemeanor technically is up to a year in prison, and I think you're sentenced to 4 months.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But there's got to be retribution. I mean, you can't just let this go back in one direction. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, but this one is a case where he was raising money.
He denies it, Eric. He denies it, Eric. He said, I had to make a deal. He said, he vehemently denies. I understand what you're saying, but he is not, he's saying I had to make a deal to do what I had to do.
Okay. I don't know. I mean,
put it this way. He doesn't need the money. As he himself reinforced yesterday on one of the shows that I've reinforced, because he owns the Seinfeld reruns. He didn't need the $58,000 that they raised for the wall for the I think that they went after the vet guy who was the head of the. Remember the case? There was a vet who was raising money, a legless vet. People.
Yeah, he and another
guy.
But
the face of the corporate, the face of the charity was a amputee veteran. It's been a couple of years. I don't remember exactly, but. He claims, Bannon, that he had nothing to do with any of this, that they were tarring everybody from the Southern District of New York.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, well, maybe we'll see something come out.
Maybe a pardon.
You can't. Well, no, yeah, it is federal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's federal, yeah, technically.
Speaking of pardons, I hear Blagojevich
got one, yeah.
What do you know about this? You know anything about this?
Well, he was commuted from Trump before, and now it's a full pardon, and Trump is saying he might make him an ambassador. So he might have pardoned him so he wouldn't be a felon, so he could give him a position.
I wonder why James Woods wasn't nominated by Trump to be the 4th ambassador of that troika.
Maybe didn't want it.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, like Clint Eastwood would have been an obvious choice, but
he's too old. He's too old. But Woods is very aggressive, very active, very sharp. He and active and still works. I mean, so do these other guys, but it would have been a good 4th ambassador.
Well, Woods is saying he's not been able to work in years, that that they froze him out completely.
Well, that'd be more reason for him to get in there.
He is a little sharper edged, though.
Definitely.
That might be, like John Voight was almost pushing it in terms of fiery resistance. Gibson and Stallone both have charm. They're not just lashing out at everybody. They're kind of the Charlton Heston camp, I think, But Woods, maybe he's seen as just too sharp or too abrasive. I don't know.
Last line I ever heard from Charlton Heston. I'm off to South America to play Mengele, Mark. Good luck. And he went to South America and he made a film where he played Joseph Mengele in an obscure film in South America. Charlton Heston might have been his last film. You might want to look it up. I don't remember what the name of it was, but he did. I thought he was jerking around. He did go to South America and play Mangala. That was like one of his last movies.
So you knew Charlton Heston. Okay.
That's right, Eric. That's right. I knew Nixon too, but I only made his shirts and ties. I didn't make his suits. Sid made the suits. I just made the ties and shirts.
And you can find out more in the custom shop.
You know, it's funny because somebody was saying that they were watching it the other day. People are going back to the old episodes a lot lately.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, there's a playlist there for that. By the way, I did add another playlist, LBG and his cronies. So people who want to go down that track, and that is something that we may continue or look at too.
What if there's a file on LBJ and those FBI things? Because Hoover and him were very close. And Hoover my theory is that this is part of Hoover's personal files, because A, nobody would have the balls to destroy them, and B, they may be so hot as information that they also prevented destruction. So, I was trying to explain this to somebody yesterday. You have to, and the example I used was John Dean and L. Patrick Gray. L. Patrick Gray was Kash Patel before the committee. He was the acting director of the FBI. Hoover had died. He was going to get confirmed, and he announced in the confirmation hearings that he had destroyed the files that were in the safe in the White House of G. Gordon Liddy. Liddy put those in the safe, and also in the safe was E. Howard Hunt's files. Why did L. Patrick Gray destroy them? It's because a man named John Dean came to him and said, I want you to burn these files, which he did. That was the end of L. Patrick Gray's career. He didn't get confirmed, and that was the end of his political career. What I'm trying to get at is there is an abhorrence to destroy files because their fear is they'll trace it back to you, the guy who destroyed the files. Despite what people think, there are ways to track who last had a file, Eric, which is what happened with L. Patrick Gray and John Dean. And they found out that Gray destroyed them at the request of John Dean. And that leads John Dean to begin the massive cover-up of Watergate. And the point I'm trying to make was the revelation that Gray destroyed the files. Now, Gray stupidly destroyed them. You can make that argument. He was the head of the FBI, or he was just following orders of the White House by John Dean, which is also true. Nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is files are not so easily destroyed anymore because nobody wants the fingerprints on them of the guy who destroys them, if that makes any sense to people. So these 2,400 files that came out or are about to come out from the FBI might have been held from Hoover's personal files, is my opinion.
Could be.
And there might be some really hot stuff in there.
Let's hope. Have you some good times.
I mean, they were neighbors for over 20 years. I mean, they were extremely close, Hoover and LBJ. Nixon, not so. LBJ and Hoover were very close.
Well, as we saw from the call, what is that one?
Yeah.
Tell us what it's like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Another story here I think is interesting. Meta lays off 4,000 workers in a performance-based spree.
Interesting. Wow.
As some claim they received glowing reviews just last year.
Wow. The tide has turned. Not so glowing anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know if he uses this system, but there's a system that I've heard Microsoft uses
to review people as an employee review system, Eric?
Yeah, it's kind of draconian.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Essentially, it's stupid thing. Anyway, they rank you like in a group. Everybody works on a team, right? So if there is a team of 5 players, well, you can't say that all are equal. In reality, one is a little better than the other. So they say, okay, who's the lowest ranking? They're gone.
Oh, interesting. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's really a
Wow.
brutal.
Well, you
system.
remember in science class, you'd have these 5-person projects, and there would be the 5th person didn't do a goddamn thing.
Sure.
Same thing happened in film school. They put together a team of 5 people, and they go, "All right, go make a film." And the 5th person is just like grabbing a light, dragging it around, and they get equal credit to you.
Producers. No,
It's not fair.
But and I think that is the mentality. I think Jack Welch actually created it initially, and I'm sure that was the thought pattern. There is many cases.
General Electric's CEO Jack Welch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Jack White, one of the benefactors of the show.
Absolutely. We're waiting for Jack White to make an appearance again.
Jack White has not been seen in months now. It's he might be in the Gaza for all we know with those hostages.
He may be, but I'm sure they followed your concept of. But the point is that you start that. Not every team has a shithead on it. There are teams that have all decent people, and then you're just cutting out somebody at the bottom. Also, it causes a lot of setting up and screwing over.
Is this a personal story that you're hinting at, or?
No, I'm just saying it's a system that is commonly used in these areas.
Right.
You
see speaking of Arizona, see what happened at the airport there with the 2 private jets?
No.
Somebody died. The 2 private jets crashed into each other.
Was that a Motley Crue one?
Yeah, one of them was owned by the lead singer Motley Crue.
Yes, enough money for a jet.
Oh yeah, Motley Crue guys. They
I know, but they also burn through more drugs than you can ever imagine.
Well, I mean, they're not Leonard Skinner. There's just one survivor there. But what's his name? Later in that broadcast, Greg Kelly says, "Why don't we get some normal rock bands for the halftime of the Super Bowl?" And he says, "How about Leonard Skinner?" And he puts the lyrics up on the screen for Freebird. Dude, it was so hysterical because he puts up, he says, "Let's see if how many words we can get from Kendrick Lamar." And he plays the thing. He goes, "Scribbles, he goes, "Okay." And he says, "I got determined, dog face." And he writes that. He goes, I got 10 words. And he says, "Now let's take Freebird by Leonard Skinner." And he picks up the lyrics for Skinner for Freebird. Now, they're all dead in the plane crash, except for the bass player, as I recall, who I met a couple of times post-crash, who was the brother, I think it was the bass player, the lead singer, the front man. I forget the front man's name, but it was his brother. And here is Greg Kelly saying they should play halftime in the Super Bowl. And I'm going like, some of these bands get resurrected because of the name, Eric.
Well, Triumph. Ronnie Van Zant's little brother was the lead singer of Triumph, and then he came over and took over. And Leonard Skinner has been performing for years, with that new lineup.
But I mean, you talk about losing the bulk of your lineup, to a band where it's almost a tribute band.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I interviewed the director of the movie on that plane crash or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
His brother was not on the plane. That's a weird accident, by the way. Because only like half the people died. Most plane crashes, not many survivors. But that one, it was really odd. And by the way, that plane was a wreck.
Yeah, in the trees.
It's not Ryan. I'm sorry, it's 38 Special. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, that's a different band, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I got it mixed up. I don't know why I thought Triumph, but 38 Special.
I've never heard of Triumph, but I've heard of 38 Special.
Okay. Well, there you go. Let me see the Clarion Call. What's up with the reported leaked JFK files? Well,
we just went over. We just went over that.
But that super chat came in a long time ago.
Okay, so I think we covered it. We don't know what's in there. Obviously, they're not leaked. Again, these people are using weird wording for their definitions. Like we said at the beginning of the show, there are plans that Trump has requested on how to disseminate the files from his office once they're all put together. He fired the head of the National Archives, and I said that had to happen before this would move forward, because she would have to, and she was an arch Trump enemy, obviously. She had been involved in the Mar-a-Lago insanity. So now she has to be replaced as an archivist, and the archivist in the National Archives, that's the portal to put out the files, or has been for 60 years. So I assume they're going to use that portal, but someone has to physically do all this stuff is what I'm getting at before actual files can come out.
I just thought of the perfect person he could put up for that. Larry Singer, the co-founder of Wikipedia.
The good guy, the good co-founder. Yeah, he's kind of a nerd, right?
Yeah, no, but wouldn't he be perfect for like being the archivist?
It's you have to go to archival school, I think, to do this. There's more to. It's not a political. It's a physical degree you have to have in archives and that crap.
I have a feeling that the person in charge, though, is a manager, and they may have train people under them.
I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that one with the archives. I think that might be a specialized type of thing. But nevertheless, I mean, somebody's got to be put in there, is what I'm saying. And I haven't heard a name yet.
No. And I also haven't heard that the files have come out. I haven't heard about the plan either.
It's a confirmation post. You got to get confirmed, bro.
Okay.
The archivist is a senatorial confirmation post.
Well, and also last Friday was the deadline. Have you seen the plan yet?
No, but that doesn't mean, it didn't go to him.
That's true. Well, I have a feeling that I'm surprised he put the weird date on, didn't say that it's once so confirmed, right. The DNI has 15
that's why
days.
I jumped on it when it happened, because he immediately had to fire the woman who was in there.
Yeah, it's
kind of messy. Unnecessarily messy, bro.
Let me see. Harry said you were talking about shopping and hoarding last week. Check body cam edition. Woman stole $2 million caps, can barely get in the house, so full.
I don't know what he's referring to there. What $2 million worth of what? Of Tampax or something?
Caps.
No, he's saying cops couldn't get in the house.
Oh, cops could. Oh, sorry.
Because she was hoarding the stuff that she stole, but I forgot what she had stolen.
Who knows?
It might have been stuff from like Walgreens or something.
Yeah, could be anything. Let me see. Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories membership.
I think Lucan might be linked to the disappearance of Jack White. Because all of a sudden Lucan starts showing up and Jack White fades into.
Lucan was here. Lucan was here before.
Okay, all right. You never see them together though.
Well, Diffuse though, he showed up with Jack White. That's when the tractor talk came.
This guy reached out to me, I think, on Twitter and said he was who he was. Somebody wanted.
Did you have him blocked? Oh no, that's right. He couldn't reach out if they were blocked.
Somebody. Funny you mentioned that. There's a guy, Joel Pollack, who is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart. Of not Breitbart. Whatchamacallit? Breitbart is Breitbart, right? Joel Pollack, and he was.
He's the one that's a speechwriter, or it's going to be a.
No. That's the guy from Revolver. That's
Revolver. Sorry,
that's Daniel Beatty. But Joel Pollack is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, and he was at the Pacific Palisades town hall with Trump, and he's the one that called for a special master. And to watch the money. Rick Grinnell was there, and Pollack was on with Alex Michelson locally the other night, being interviewed by Michelson about this. And he's happy that conservative voices are finally getting heard in the media. And I said, let me see, maybe we can invite him on the show, Eric. So I go to his DM, I go to his Twitter account, and he's got me blocked. I don't even know the guy, and it's so funny. I'm going, what the fuck? Anyway,
well, maybe I'll have to ask him.
Right? Wow. So interesting turn of events for me.
How's it feel?
I felt terrible. I felt like I wanted to know what I did.
There you go. But
I've never talked to the guy.
And unfortunately, he doesn't have a sidekick that you can go, hey,
there is no sidekick.
Your buddy blocked you.
That's funny. I had to accept it as a man.
All right, Mellow Cat gifted 5 American.
There's a new one. Mellow Cat's a new one. Mellow Cat's.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And by the way, folks, there's your chance. You should have clipped that little segment of Mark talking about being blocked for everybody to see on X. I will share it out.
Do what you got to do.
So if you want to clip it and tag me, I will make sure to amplify it so those who follow me, because Mark has them blocked, will see it. Vexing sobriquet. Last time Trump was in office, he appointed loads of judges. He needs to finish and fill all the vacancies. Oh, yeah, there are.
Okay, I haven't heard one vacancy filled so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But slow down.
He needs crazy judges. I mean, he needs wild judges. I would nominate Michael Rappaport to be a judge.
That would be at least memeable.
Yes.
That dude is a maniac. You should invite him on.
He's dangerous, bro. Rappaport, he's unplugged. He's totally unplugged, Rappaport.
But you know what? I would like to see a co-feature of Michael Rappaport and Alex Stein.
Oh, that would be too much. Yeah, that would be
or Michael Malice. We could throw the pair in there somehow. It'd be interesting.
I'd like to see Viva interview Rappaport. That would be funny.
It'd be funny because Dave would be just so.
Yeah, he'd be so frenetic.
He'd be going crazy. Mr. Mike, judges TRO on Treasury Department inadvertently froze U.S. bond system.
Is that true? That's interesting. There's a restraining order involved, and Amy Berman was the judge involved in this case that Mr. Mike is talking about. I don't know what the restraining order was, but obviously it had some domino effect on the bond market.
That is very interesting. Again, though, what the hell can one federal judge stop the whole administration? This
again, if you get
court makes sense because there's
there is no other way. There is no other way. It's got to be done quickly. It's got to move quickly, and you got to keep going back. You need to have on speed dial that person is going to go up there to the Supreme Court and be your spokesperson. They just have to go up every single day, every day.
Right. Well, and I'm just thinking that no federal judge, in my opinion, should have the power to stop the entire federal government. If it was the Supreme Court, yes, okay. Now we're talking about co-equal branch here,
right? Oh yeah,
but Congress
how about your ruling just applies to your district?
Yeah.
How about that? How about that for a compromise?
Yeah, or how about you make your ruling and then let's see if the Supreme Court takes it.
Well, that's a separate issue. You're correct on that too. But I think the Supreme Court, the ruling by a federal judge in the Southern District of New York should only apply to the Southern District of New York. I don't know if that. What am I crazy? I mean,
but I think that gets into the Commerce Clause collision where suddenly you have a different standards for the Southern District of New York on a federal level versus the rest of the country.
Resolved by what.
So I'm saying nothing should happen until it goes to the Supreme Court.
That's another
if
thing.
They take it. They either spank it down and don't take it and you just shut up, or they actually act on it, then there's relevance. But I don't think.
Well, what about going Andrew Jackson, full on Andrew Jackson?
Well,
and just saying you made your ruling, you're one branch of the government, I'm another branch, which is what he said to SCOTUS about a federal bank in the United States.
Right.
Should Trump go completely Andrew Jackson at this point?
Well, I think he probably should and get it to the Supreme Court. Like, I mean, some things, it's just ludicrous. You can't look at your own.
Why can't Ludacris do the halftime show at the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Too stoned?
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I didn't like John Batiste's version of the national anthem either. That was crazy with his piano thing there. And then that Black national anthem's got to go. I think that's going to be the last time we ever hear that Black national anthem again, by the way. I think that's done.
May it go the way of Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
All right. Al Gonzalez said, yep, been hearing that all summer from sources that Trump's plane was a target, and hearing it still is.
Wow. Yeah, Al hit me too there back in the summer. He was talking about this, and look, he has issued orders for 00H, Trump being 007. And if he's killed, according to him, he has 008 has a letter that he's written for J.D. Vance to obliterate the nation of Iran. So this is, right out of a Bond movie.
Wow. I had one more story because I did put it in the description. Bud Light still hasn't recovered from the Mulvaney controversy.
Well, that commercial they had was so over the top. They were trying to overcompensate for it by
Sure.
going full anti-Mulvaney. It was just crazy. It was just the craziest Bud commercial the other way.
Right. Well, I mean, think about it. This happened in 2023.
Okay,
And
2
this
years.
shows you the damage that
Mhm.
has taken place. And it was, I think, an important marker in the war against woke, because they're still suffering. They lost all their, all the money and the market share then. But the worst thing happened. They lost their shelf space.
Oh boy, hard to get it back.
That's right. I mean, they literally spent decades, bullying the grocery stores and whatever else to where they have you ever wondered why they have 6-packs, 12-packs, 18-packs, 24? That's to get more and more shelf space. It's a way to shove competition out. So they just do the weird sizes and everything, and then they get more and more and more, squeeze it out. Well, it's squeezed the other way now.
Yeah, what's going on with Costco? Because that blockade, people are still boycotting Costco because the fact that they will not relent on their DEI programming, Eric.
This
is they're willing to die on this Costco Hill membership card thing.
I think that they should die then.
Yeah. You say Sam's Club
them?
Is good. You like some of these other companies.
BJ's is fine. Sam's Club.
BJ's, if you can use that phrase now on YouTube, BJ's. Which else do you like? Sam's Club.
Sam's Club's a Walmart version of it.
A Walmart, right.
There's BJ's, and I mean, somebody else could, start a warehouse store. There's nothing saying that they're so sacred.
I think this trip to Mars, by the way, is going to include the Russians. I think Trump and Musk are going to make this a joint international trip involving the Russians in a spirit of friendship with the Russian Federation. Just sticking that out there. They're about to reach an agreement where we're going to get the rare earth materials from Ukraine. Putin has said he has no opposition to having peace. What are they called when you have a peacekeeping team? No, peacekeeping team.
Oh, okay.
On the border, to keep the peace in that disputed eastern area. But this is coming, Eric. This is coming this month, and Trump and Kellogg are working with Putin and Zelensky to A, get a ceasefire, and then B, a peace deal. So
where do you think? Where's Zelensky gonna live? Miami with the.
That's my next question. Yeah, I mean, because he's a walking dead man. He's a walking dead man, and if he comes here, this is kind of a wide open society. I think it would be even worse here.
I know where he can go.
Where?
Canada.
You know what? Canada might be the greatest place for him. Deep in Toronto somewhere. There's a lot of Yahtzees in there already.
Yeah, there you go. He's got some like-minded company. Nothing's going to happen to him there. He can float along in the hat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my vote. He'll go there. Let me see. Fletcher Boy, the Chinese sign guy is freaking hilarious.
Which one is that?
Oh.
Is there a sign guy who's Chinese for Musk or something? Or
I think I've seen it before. It's a guy who hijacks other commercials. Like they'll have some commercial or controversy, and then he goes in, you can get my sign for such and such $.
I haven't seen it.
It's a meme thing. I've run by it a couple times. I'm like,
weird.
What the hell is this up? I'll have to see if it comes up, and I'll save one and share it on here, because it is an odd one. Devin Hilton, do you think any old Operation 40 guys will be in the files? Porter Goss, Orlando Bosch. Mark, you're an inspiration.
First of all, Operation 40 was so huge. It involved so many normal people. It's hardly even a conspiracy any longer, Operation 40. It's like saying, the airborne division of the United States military should be investigated. I mean, Operation 40 was almost so above board as to be public. I'm exaggerating slightly, but I mean, not really a nefariously dark underground operation. It covered multiple administrations, by the way.
All right. Oh, this is also breaking news, by the way. This came in right before we went on.
We can't even do a show without news coming in. We need a sign language interpreter in the corner
And a producer.
and giving us new news in the corner, with the sign language.
And by the way, a little side complaint on two-way. Does it drive you crazy when he says, pull up such and such, and then there's a pregnant pause?
It's shocking. It's shocking.
I hate to tell you, we're spoiled because I'm doing this, but I am 5,000 times faster than those.
It really is shocking. But you know who the best in the business is?
What?
Jamie.
Oh, pull that shit up, Jimmy.
Come on. Fucking Jamie, bro. And people know who I'm talking about. I'll just leave it
Joe
at that.
Rogan's Jamie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this actually did surprise me, but it's like, okay, cool. Tim Pool joins Rumble.
That's weird. Okay.
He's bringing his exclusive Timcast show to Rumble Premium. So they must have dug into all their couches to get this, because I actually thought
that's a big deal.
You know what? For a while, I think he was going to maybe go with Patrick Bet-David's crew.
Also, the Daily Wire was a rumor for a while.
That was a rumor, but I feel like it never really, like, he always memed off of it and stuff like that. I think they're friends, but I don't see.
Okay. Well, God bless him. Good luck, Tim. Godspeed, Tim Pool. Godspeed.
I will tell you that I could see this happening because when I was there during the after show, when they do the show, the Timcast IRL, and then they keep it going for their members. All the assets for the members were on Rumble technology. So even though it's their site, Rumble is kind of doing an Amazon. A lot of people don't realize it, but Amazon's money isn't from the store. Amazon made all their money from their web services. So, selling cloud services, back-end storage to all these companies everywhere. And then they did things like, they said, oh, well, would you look at that? Ring is using a lot of data in our web services. We'll just buy the company.
I'm predicting a breakup of Bezos and his female spouse.
Really? Why? She seems so stable and so normal.
I'm predicting a breakup, an imminent breakup of the two of them. Also predicting, which I did a long time ago, Prince Harry and Markle. That was a no-brainer. That was.
Did you see Trump's clip on that? That was so funny.
Yeah, he's hip to it. And who knows? I just wanted as one thing, when I was talking about anti-Semitism on the right, I didn't mean evangelical or conservative right. I left out the word alt-right. And people are a little bit confused about that and seem to be oblivious to any anti-Semitism on the right. I was referring, as Eric is much more aware of this than I am. He's the one that turned me on to it, how deep-rooted it is in the alt-right world, just to use a phrase that is not that accurate, but just to delineate between the two worlds.
Right. There's alt-right, new right, if you
whatever you want to call it.
The
people responded in the comment section. I had a simple question. I said, how do you square your support for Trump with Trump's overwhelming support for Israel and his Jewish children and Jewish grandchildren and children? Not one of them answered the question. They went into a virulent attack on me and Israel and the Jews. And I said, that's not the question I asked. I simply asked how you square your support for Trump. No one would answer the question. Not one of them.
Like I said, 5D chess, Mark.
Yeah.
It's 5D chess.
Wow. No, I mean, because you could be a Biden supporter and still live in that space, of anti-Israel as a Biden supporter and still feel pretty comfortable. But I don't know how you feel comfortable in Trump world if that's your political axe to grind.
I will tell you one person who I think did navigate it, and that's Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore was, and Blumenthal too. I mean, but they're not Biden supporters. I mean,
no. Jimmy Dore is a Trump supporter, but
he's a Trump supporter.
Oh yeah. Now he is, because he's completely.
I don't know anything about it. But,
he's completely anti-Biden.
Well, I'm not saying he's a Biden supporter, but aren't they far left Democrats?
Well, he is a lefty, but he's a populist.
Okay.
And that's where things get confusing. But the way I think he squares it is he hates Israel, but there is a chance that there was going to be a peace deal under Trump, and there never was going to be any kind of deal under Biden.
Absolutely.
So that is a way I could see somebody intellectually saying, okay, Trump is a strong supporter of Israel. If they're overriding,
I agree.
Conflict stops,
I think I was referring to
fair.
right-wing populists in the
Right.
what I was talking about, not left-wing populists. But you're correct. I was talking about the right-wing anti-Israel, Trump supporting populism, because Trump is not Biden in this area. Obviously, Biden gave lip service to support of Israel too, but I'm saying Trump's is overwhelming. When Netanyahu was here, Netanyahu made a point of saying Donald Trump is the greatest president Israel has ever had. He was emphatic, and Trump agreed with him. And he has the Jewish grandchildren and children.
You think he's not going to agree with
No. I don't think he's going to say no to anything that says the greatest, but his actions back up his words.
Yeah, well, he moved the embassy in Jerusalem. That was the biggest statement.
Right, but I mean, the Gaza thing is something that Biden would ever come up with. He would never stick his neck out in a million years. And like I said, there are huge billboards all through Tel Aviv of "Thank you, Mr. President" to Trump with his in color with his photos on it. I mean, what country other than Israel has that for him?
Right. Well,
maybe Hungary has it under Orban, but I doubt it.
El Salvador has some of it. Not El Salvador. Argentina has a little bit of it.
Wow.
Under that guy. Wow. No. I mean, that guy has been doing really, really well down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I'm trying to say that Jimmy Dore thing, I could see maybe some of the anti-Israel factors on the right are taking that stance. I hate Israel, but I hate the conflict, and it's a binary choice. I have to choose one. So they like the rest of what he does. I don't know, but it is a hard question.
Well, can people subscribe to the channel here? Is this a good point to maybe they could at this point in their lives subscribe?
I don't know, but there's
I mean, we'll be at 120,000 until I'm in the grave. This is never going to move in my lifetime, but maybe in the lifetime of my great grandchildren, we could see the subscription numbers go up.
We just lost two.
We just lost two, right?
Yeah, and literally, the number went down too.
Yeah,
when they hit refresh,
because that's the alt-right people who hate Israel,
which is probably fine.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, but there also could be a couple trolls who go, "Oh, I know what I'll do. Well, unsubscribe." You could also follow us on Rumble if you're watching on Rumble right now.
Rumble,
hit the follow button. That will help us out.
Or you can join
maybe Rumble pay us money like Tim Pool if we get enough Rumble support.
How many followers do we have on Locals?
On Locals, 19,000 some odd members.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Well, Rumble, I don't know how many.
Well, no, but 20,000 followers on Locals. That's a nice chunk of people.
Yeah, and they're cool people.
Well, a really interesting group. Yeah.
Definitely some cool people. Yeah, we have 955 people watching right now on Rumble.
Just on Rumble alone?
Yeah. Yeah, almost 1,000. And
you see the numbers that Bongino has on Rumble?
Oh, okay.
Dude, I mean, it's just crazy.
Let me just no criticism of him as a person and a businessman.
Right.
But I will say, if you own the company or are part owner, and they make sure that your show is always prominent on the page.
I see. Yeah.
It's possible you may do better than other shows.
Is he the face of Rumble?
He kind of was almost for a little bit. I mean, now Rumble got Crowder, who was
that's right. Yeah. Well, maybe Tim Pool will be the new face of Rumble.
I think Tim Pool might be.
Yeah.
I guarantee that Tim Pool will get full support, and his shows will be promoted very heavily on Rumble.
Right.
And it's a business. I get it. I'm not trying to say bad things. I'm just saying, if you are favored by a platform, you will probably do better. It's kind of like the default. If you turn on the TV and you lean back, Bongino. Yeah, okay, I'll just watch Bongino.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but two-way is very entertaining. I'm curious to see what happens to that platform.
Well, they've got they're growing. Meghan McCain has got a show.
I can't watch her. I mean, give me a break. How does Meghan McCain get on there? Why not lose Cheney?
Friends, because I mean, this Mark is a freaking leftist. He's a Democrat, really.
Yeah,
and you could tell because his favorite person in
he
the
denies
world,
that, Eric. He denies.
Of course he does, but he loves Clinton. Bill Clinton was his hero. You could just hear it anytime they talk about anything. Halpern will spin it back to what Bill Clinton did. Clinton did this or Clinton did that. And
keep in mind his father, Mort Halpern, was the one who actually wrote the Pentagon Papers, and his brother, who was a O&I operative, was the one who stole secret documents off the desk of Henry Kissinger and turned them over to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and was caught. That's David Halpern, his brother. Just to let you know where this family comes from. His father was an avowed Marxist, by the way.
All right. Somebody's pointing out that Bannon gets 30,000, as does Salty Cracker. Salty Cracker gets a lot of people. I forgot.
On Rumble?
Yes.
Okay.
He does. It's one of those that I don't think our audience crosses over as much as it used to, but we used to see in the chat all the time. If you see the letter R and a bunch of E's, that's Salty Crackers.
And what should I do? Call the police?
No, you just go, okay. Yeah,
okay.
It's there. You say, hey, Salty Cracker person.
Hey, Salty Cracker person.
Hit subscribe, damn it.
Everything I know about the internet, I've learned from Eric Hunley. I know absolutely nothing, but the limited knowledge that I do have, I've learned from him about these platforms and all this other shit.
And
I am a complete Luddite.
I'm not getting back.
I am a complete Luddite. I'm good in other areas, but not in this one.
Anyway, but yeah,
I love when somebody says to us, Eric, I can't believe you and Hunley don't know Joe Dogface, the guy or whoever it is. I mean, fill in the blank, some obscure, like that thing with the gemstones. By the way, there's a trailer out now for the Fabulous Gemstones for the 4th season. And I'm excited as hell to watch it, but we didn't know about the gemstones in Georgia, the monolithic rocks.
Oh God, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah,
that were blown up, and they were built.
What kind of conspiracy people are you anyway?
We're the worst kind of conspiracy.
I know, you lost your license.
Were they built in the 1780s? No. Were they built in the 1880s? No. They were built in the 1980s. I'm like, why don't you and Groubert know about this centuries old monolithic Stonehenge of Georgia?
Yeah. 100%. I get that with shows too.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I had never heard of Valuetainment until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
And I go there and it's like, I find the channel. There's 3 million, 3 million people. And it happens all the time. There's so many damn channels out there that people like.
There's also different things in pop culture that I'm not aware of, and they could be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew about Hendrik Lamar because I'm out here. But there's a lot of people that were not hip to Hendrik Lamar who are just going, who the fuck is this guy now?
Wasn't he with one of the Kardashians or something?
No. He was ganged up for a while, but he's had this running feud hysterically with Drake, calling him a Yeti file. And I can't even go into the feud. It's so public at this point. He released
Is it real though, or are they both just banking on
it? No. They really were going at it. It's not, dude. They swatted, not swatted. A guy tried to go up and shoot Drake on behalf of Kendrick Lamar, and I think Drake lives up in Montreal or Toronto or something, and he had security violations. It became a little gang war. It got physical. It got physical.
I didn't know because there are like beefs that are kind of made up, like Logan Paul, the Paul brothers with other people and bullshit diss tracks and all that kind of stuff. It's like taking the wrestling theme, pro wrestling, and templating it at other stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. Let me see. Matthew Cooper says you guys need to get to New Orleans for Oswald JFK conspiracy tour.
That tour
one of these days.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that guy with his tour because he probably knows a lot of stuff. We are the tour, bro.
Here you go. The Rod. With all the pardons Biden and Trump gave, they somehow forgot to pardon Oswald. He was just a
Right.
patsy.
What do you think his crimes were that Oswald
You
committed?
can't pardon the guy. I guess it would be preemptive
Right.
because he's never charged
With anything.
He's never
Well,
tried,
he never tried.
or convicted. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, he even is the alleged assassin.
Yeah.
If anybody's being responsible, they will say the alleged assassin. And
I
that
can't
is-
believe they got DEI out of PBS this week. They capitulated as well. Musk went into the Carr wrote a letter to PBS, and they're getting their DEI programs out. I think
Wow.
NPR is next. I think you're going to find a lot of interesting things when you get into NPR.
Well, I think when they cut, I mean, I'm sorry, the jugular was USAID. I feel like
absolutely.
when they shut that source
Yeah.
down, it's like they're so desperate now. There is nothing else coming
Well,
in.
right. Somebody pointed out that they can't even fund their brown shirt shock troops in the streets.
Exactly.
They can't. There's no check for BLM. There's no BLM.
And
I got to get paid, mother.
I had no idea. You know, I mean, it's like you and I knew these were going on. You might have known all the details, but I didn't know where it was and how. I mean, just hitting one agency could cause so much.
Their
damage.
budget was bigger than the CIA's budget. I mean, the CIA
Bigger
was
than the State Department too, apparently.
That I don't know. The CIA was about 50 billion. USAID was 67 billion. And I don't know the budget of the State Department, but USAID was bigger than the CIA. And as Ben's talked about it, you know, when there's something so nasty, the CIA can't do it. You contact USAID.
Yeah. I mean, 56.7 State Department.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a little bit bigger than the state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that.
It's insane. But I mean, it's almost like a cash giveaway of political programs.
Yeah, it was a slush fund.
Okay. So just to explain this a little bit more clearly, so people at home can understand this, it was a slush fund for both parties up until the Obama administration. And then the Democrats took it over and ran it by itself. They boxed out the Republicans. And that's why nobody on the Republican side is crying for them at this time. That's why Rubio was put into state to deal with this, because the Republicans have been boxed out of this feeding frenzy. And also, the reason the Republicans have not blown the whistle is because they fed at that same trough up until the Obama administration, if that makes any sense to people at home.
Oh, 100%. Yep. And that's the hilarious part about it, is that if they were just operating as usual, you know, the typical chicanery, they'd be trucking right along. But they had to go too far, and they had to take away the feed from the Republicans. So now they have
that's
no
what did
friends.
it. That's really what did it. And the
Republicans can't go after it directly.
The programs are not even socially engineered programs. As Mike Benz explained, funding transgender surgeries or transgender dance contests in Malaysia was not for political reasons. He said it was to carve out a political voting bloc that they could use to topple that particular president in Malaysia. And that theory is extrapolated out around the world. It's not a particular love of trans or DEI, Ben said. It was a political weapon to use against leaders that they wanted to topple in a color revolution. It's like an advanced color revolution where they use voting groups now like trans and other groups that they own by funding them and owning them, which I find to be more fascinating than just some willy-nilly political theory funding, which it's not. It's not about funding. It is that to the people at the state. It's soft power, but it's the carving out of voting blocks is what Benz was explaining that you could control in foreign elections, if that makes any sense.
I was also thinking it was carving out of agents. If you think of
agents,
right? Because you get those people in those aggrieved groups, and they can do things for you. So for intelligence gathering, everything else.
Right.
Look at how much of the gay inclusion and things like that.
He did say that, but there could be 1 million of them in a particular country. In a close election, you can push that bell and get 1 million of them to vote your way. That's power. That's power.
Oh, sure. George Orwell with a good final word here. Thank you for the clarification on the recently found JFK files. If you think they're interesting, that's significant to us. Can't wait to see.
I haven't seen them. So, yeah, I was just trying to clarify this. There seems to be a lot of misinformation out there about the physics of this program that's going on. So that's as much as I know. I don't know what's in those files. I'm just pontificating about what could be in there.
Hopefully, good stuff. And a lot of the good stuff is,
well, they didn't save them this
banal
long.
things, you know.
Right. But I'm saying they didn't save them after thousands of different attempts to get these files. They go, no, not those. No, not those. To tell me that there's just cooking recipes in there would be absurd at this point. Like, you know, they've been fighting tooth and nail. I'm just referring to the 2,400 FBI files. Every time someone said, oh, no, not those. I mean, think about 60 years of them saying privately about those at FBI. No, not those. So I assume there's something in there that's hot.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Well, I mean, FBI interviews.
We've talked about the 302s. The
302s.
The 302s are where the assassination, where the rubber meets the road.
And I'm hoping that it has a lot of 302s in there.
Oh, God, I wish I had a collection of 302s.
Me too. All right. Well, we're going to be heading over to locals.
Here's a good 302. This is my favorite 302 of the month. And look, that's what the FBI is known for, is the 302s. And I'll just tell you this one, because this is one I've been reading over, and I think we put it up on locals. This is Mrs. R.A. Reed, the clerical supervisor, Texas School Book Depository, Houston, Elm Street, 11/26/1963, advised she had observed the presidential motorcade, proceeded down Elm Street from position in front of the Texas School Book Depository building, and heard 3 shots, which she later determined came from the above building. During the commotion, the excitement followed the shooting, she did not observe anything outside the building. The only thing she noted was the 3 shots. At the conclusion of the shots, she saw Negro boys standing at the window of the building. Thereupon, she proceeded back to her office on the 2nd floor. Now, what's on the 2nd floor, Eric? On the 2nd floor is the lunchroom, where Oswald is famously seen by the Truly and the motorcycle officer, right? There have been attempts to discredit that by Truly and the motorcycle cops seeing Oswald. Okay. Thereupon, she proceeded back to her office on the 2nd floor of the building, being somewhat confused. As she entered the offices, she observed Lee Harvey Oswald, whose name she did not know at the time, but whom she had seen previously, and whose name she later ascertained from newspaper publicity. Coming from the back hallway, which is used as an aisleway between the warehouse and the clerical offices, and which has a lunchroom, Eric, leading off to the side. Oswald was carrying a Coca-Cola. How shocking. Which she believed to be full. And she recalled in his right hand, and she said to him, someone has shot the president. I hope he didn't hit him. The point of this 302 is that it verifies that Oswald was in the 2nd floor lunchroom seconds after the shooting with a Coca-Cola in his hand. He will get change of $1 to put into the Coke machine from another secretary, and there's a 302 from her. He will then go to the Coke machine, put it in, get the Coke, drink the Coke, and he'll be seen at the Coke machine getting the Coke by Truly and the Dallas motorcycle cop, thereby placing him not in a 6th floor window, but in the 2nd floor lunchroom, as he said. The 302s are gold, Hunley. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's the gold of the Kennedy assassination. 302s like this.
Awesome. Well, before we head over to locals, everybody, one more time, we will be meeting up in person in Las Vegas on April 12th with special guest Robert Barnes for his birthday, and we definitely hope to see you there. The tickets have been moving incredibly quickly. I announced it on locals. By the way, that's another reason to be a free locals member, because you could hear about it ahead of time. People on locals have known about this since Saturday.
What?
Yeah. The general public, we are finding out about it now. But
Yeah, is this a leak? You're leaking the information, or is just
nope? This is wide dissemination. The people on locals, they got it early because the locals crowd are the cool kids who get to know all of this stuff ahead of time.
okay?
We're going to head over there now. There's a link in the description, unstructured.locals.com. But the link down below will take you straight to this episode that's playing right now, and we will continue our chat over there. See you soon.